Being a music artist looks really fun and glamorous, and a lot of people think that we are living the dream by being able to be paid to do what we love. And you would be right. But also, nobody talks about the downside of being paid and having to live off of what you love. So in this video, let's chat about the emotional cost of turning your passion into your job. First off, having to put other people ahead of myself. Now, as a recovering people pleaser, this one hits deeply because I have already spent so much of my life and so much of my time putting other people's needs above my own. When you turn from a regular job to being paid for your passion and being paid to do what you love, essentially, it now becomes a matter of I need to survive and I need to make sure that I'm making the money that I need to make in order to live, to fund my lifestyle, to be able to provide for the basics that I need within my life. And that comes with having to hit a quota every single month. And that comes with essentially having to put everybody above myself, ahead of myself, if I realize that it's taking me a little bit longer to reach my quota than I wanted to. I'm putting people ahead of myself by giving them time over myself and by lending them my creative energy versus putting that creative energy into myself first. Something that I have really been trying to drill into my mind, and I've been successful at it in the past few months, is no longer giving people from my cup, but rather giving them from the overflow of my cup. So it is my job to make sure my cup stays full, and anything extra that comes out of that can benefit everybody around me. But unfortunately, what has happened in the past by turning my passion into my job is everybody gets all that I can offer, and then I'm dried up and I have nothing left for myself. There is no overflow. There was never a chance for overflow because I was always dipping into my own supply, pouring myself out and pouring it into other people. Doing that teaches you that you come last, that you don't matter, that your feelings and your wants and your needs and desires does not matter. And it leaves you in a role of, yes, I understand that I am a service provider, but I will never be able to do for myself. I will never be able to make it to a certain level, or I am only good for support for the people around me because they actually have the money to live and pay for the things that they need, and they have the money to put towards being bigger in music and reaching their goals and dreams. So it can kind of mess you up emotionally and mentally if you're not careful. So try to avoid this pitfall by, I've talked about it before, setting boundaries and making those boundaries non-negotiable. That's maybe going to be a day off that you give yourself that nobody touches. That's maybe you stop answering messages or you stop taking sessions and clients after a certain time in the day. But you have to protect your time and make sure that you're always giving yourself something throughout the day before you give yourself completely away to everybody else. The next emotional cost of turning a passion into a job is anxiety. And this comes from being a freelancer, a contractor. As I said earlier, when you are needing to fulfill a quota, there are a lot of uncertain times, especially when it comes to working as an audio engineer, working within music. There can be really, really busy seasons and extremely slow seasons, and sometimes unusually slow, like out of the normal slow. And that creates a certain anxiety. It creates a certain scarcity mindset where I'm not sure I'm going to get an opportunity to record this person or work with this person again. Or if I don't do well at this job, they're never going to come back and book me again. They're never going to spend money with me again. Or if I don't answer them first, if I'm not available all the time, they're going to go down a list and just call the next available engineer or the next available person to work with, versus understanding my own self-worth, understanding that people come to me for my particular skill set and people will continue to book me because of the value that I offer, not just because I'm another engineer, but because you get a particular experience when you book with me. But unfortunately, in my earlier days, I developed extreme anxiety and an extreme case of scarcity and fear, being afraid of not knowing when the next session was going to book and not knowing if I was going to make my quota. And unfortunately, you do in the beginning, when you're building up a clientele, you have to be at the mercy of other people's schedules. You have to be on par, on a swivel, waiting around for people to hit you up. Otherwise, there is that fear of, oh my goodness, if I don't get everything I can right now as soon as possible, by the time the end of the month rolls around, I'm not sure I'm going to have made my quota. I'm not sure I'm going to have the money that I need in full to pay for all of my bills. So there's a lot of anxiety that develops around that, right? And there's a lot of, like I said, people pleasing as far as my schedule is not my own. I'm within service. The hours, the normal hours that everybody else gets to work, like 9 to 5, I don't get that same luxury. I need to work when everyone else is available, which means I get to rest from 9 to 5, but from 5 to 9, I need to be on call and available for anybody who may want to come in and book a session, because that's when people with regular jobs are available. That's when they have the time. Or when people get paid on the 1st and the 15th, I can kind of expect to get booked around that time because that's when people have money. So now it's dependent on, okay, are the people around me doing good? Are the people who are booking me, are they doing all right in life? If they're not, they're less likely to come spend money with me, because the studio is a luxury. It is an extra. And for a lot of people, it is a hobby. So it's not something that's going to be necessary for them, whereas this is my entire livelihood. And there's just a bunch of anxiety that develops from that, and a sense of scarcity mindset, being afraid of not knowing when the next check, when the next client in the next session is coming through. So the next emotional cost of turning a passion into a job, I mentioned scarcity mindset, but the next cost is turning into someone who becomes very frugal. So I actually am not completely mad at this one, but it does make me cautious. So I don't like it for the scarcity mindset that it developed, but I do like it because I really had to sharpen my skill set around budgeting and sticking to my budget and living below my means. So if you don't know what frugal means, it basically means kind of stingy, but not so much stingy as more so considerate of what I'm spending my money on. I'm less likely to part with my money. I'm less likely to part with my dollar. Something has to be very valuable, very necessary for me to want to give my money to get it, right? So I'm frugal. I'm not quick to let go of my money. I had to really sharpen my budgeting skills, and I had to really make sure that I was watching and tracking every single dollar that I made, knowing exactly where it's coming from, and then immediately assigning it a job. If there's nothing else that you understand about money, and this is just general advice for anybody, the relationship you have with money is just as important as the relationship you have with God, with your family, with yourself. And that means that it requires a check-in. If you are not checking in with your money, if you don't know what your money is doing and what your money is up to, it's gonna leave you. Some people would liken it to having a girlfriend or a boyfriend, right? If you don't give that girlfriend or that boyfriend attention, what are they gonna do? They're gonna go find somebody else to be with. So you need to show respect and attention to your money. Know where it's coming from, know what's coming in, how much is coming in, and then know what purpose you want to assign it. Okay, I need this much for rent. I need this much for the gas in my car. I need this much to buy groceries. I need this much for my utilities. I'm going to put this much towards savings. I'm going to put this into this type of account, and I'm going to put this into a money market and this into a retirement plan. You need to know where your money is coming from and what your money is going to do, and give every single dollar a purpose. That is how you will be able to track your money and increase it, because you know what's going on with it. Develop that relationship with money. So I'm not completely mad at becoming frugal, but it's the scarcity mindset that you have to be careful of, which is not thinking that there's an abundance of things. There's always going to be enough, but scarcity mindset will trick you into thinking that you're never going to have another client, or you're never going to book someone else, or you're never going to make enough money, or if you spend it here, then it's taking away from something over there. So that part I had to break from. And in some aspects of my life, I am still breaking away from. But the frugality and being good with my budget, not all that bad, but that is something to be mindful of. And the last emotional cost of turning a passion into a job is the inability to relax, and kind of demonizing the idea of relaxing and taking a load off. Unfortunately, with this line of work, because I am a service provider and I need to be available when everybody else is needing me, basically, it creates this sense of I can't get too comfortable, because what if somebody needs me? I can't get too comfortable because what if I fall asleep and I miss a text or a phone call from a client who wanted to book with me, and now they didn't book with me, they booked with the next available engineer, and I missed out on the money that I could have made for the day. I need to make sure just in case somebody, just in case. And there's never a sense of peace. And there's a sense of, if I'm not doing something, if I'm not working, if I'm not actively recording somebody and I'm not actively creating in the studio, then I must not want it bad enough, or I'm not making the money, or I'm being lazy. And that's not a good mindset to have, because rest is very much an important part of any development, any journey, anything that we do. Like, you have the days when you go hard, but then you need to give yourself time to replenish and re-energize. But when you are in this industry, unfortunately, everybody tells you that you have to be on go all the time, because if you're not taking advantage of that momentum, right? If you stop, if you slow down, then your whole career just comes crashing down, and it's harder to build it up than it is to keep it going. That's what we're told all the time as music artists, and just in music in general. And it creates this habit of neglecting ourselves and ignoring boundaries that we need in order to maintain a healthy relationship with ourselves. So just like I talked about earlier, where we need to put certain boundaries in place for times that are for us and it's non-negotiable and nobody can threaten that, this industry will definitely make it feel like you are doing something wrong if you put yourself first in that sense. Even though literally, if you are not a part of it, then everything comes crashing down. If you are not good, then nothing gets done. And if you allow yourself to tire, to be exhausted to the point of collapse, then things are going to be over anyway, right? So build into your schedule a time to relax and take a load off, but don't feel guilty about it. And that's something that I had to rewire. After I got to a certain place within my career, and after I took on certain jobs, I can kind of relax a little bit and tell myself and calm myself down, like, hey, this rest is well deserved. It is okay for me to be resting right now, and I can feel replenished and show up better for my clients and better for the people that I work with when I make sure I get my rest time and my time for myself. Those are some of the emotional costs of turning a passion into a job. Let me know if any of these things resonated with you. Leave it in the comment section down below. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified each and every time I post a new piece of content. If there is something else that you would like to chat about, make sure you leave that in the comment section. But my name is LexC. Until next time, peace.